Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. So this video is going to be about how you could turn a corner at any moment, no matter how long you've been suffering. So before I get into the details of this video, I just wanted to mention that I am doing one-on-one supportive coaching. So I am offering it at lower rates than you might find elsewhere online. I am doing a 15-minute free consult just so we can get to chat really quickly and see if we might be a good fit. And then 30-minute or 60-minute sessions. I will leave the link to the online booking system in the description. If you have just a single question you want to ask me privately, I will leave my email address in the description as well. I just ask that you just leave brief questions on there, as I just don't have time to send back and forth lengthy emails. So I just wanted to start out with that, but getting into the turning a corner. So it doesn't matter what your pattern of recovery looks like, whether you're someone who has windows and waves, whether you're someone who doesn't have any windows, whether you're someone who is maybe still in the acute phase and you're not really sure what your pattern of recovery will look like. You can turn a corner at any moment. So I will share just briefly that I had two different withdrawals. So my very first one was an SSRI withdrawal that I had been on. I had been on my SSRI for 7 years, and then I wanted to come off, talk to my doctor about tapering. He did a 4-week taper plan with me, which turned out to be much too fast, and I was thrown into withdrawal very quickly, but I didn't even realize that I was in withdrawal until 8 months off when I discovered the forums. I just didn't know why I had been suffering with all these symptoms for so long. And I continued through that for 2.5 years, and then I decided to reinstate because I was not getting any windows at all. I did not have the typical windows and waves patterns. Everything I read online about people having this pattern, I was like, why is that not the situation or the case with me? Why don't I ever get reprieve of symptoms? Why do I not even get a lessening of symptoms? I just had the same thing all day, every day. And that's why I decided to reinstate, because I didn't understand that people have different patterns of recovery. However, I will mention that in that first withdrawal, I was still drinking alcohol and I was still taking over-the-counter prescriptions. I was taking not sleeping medication. It is diamond hydronate here in Canada. It's travel tabs or gravel. I don't think you have it in the US, but it's basically an antihistamine slash anti-nauseant. So a lot of people will take it when they are nervous about flight or they get motion sickness. It can make you very drowsy. So I would take that to sleep. I would take NyQuil sometimes to sleep. I was taking antibiotics, pretty heavy antibiotics at different times in my first withdrawal. And so I don't know whether that was a factor in the fact that I didn't have any windows. I really don't know. But I reinstated at 2.5 years off, and then suffered even more than my first withdrawal, meaning that the symptoms were much more intense. Again, wasn't getting any windows. But then at 7 months off, 6 or 7 months off, I started getting very brief windows. They weren't what I call full windows, meaning I wasn't symptom free, but I did feel like a lessening of symptoms, but it was only an hour here and there. And otherwise I was just mentally really unwell all the time. And then at 21 months off, so I have two different withdrawals, like I told you. So 21 months off, the second withdrawal when I was completely med-free, but that was also when I was 4.5 years off from my first drug. That was when I felt like I turned a corner. So for me, it happened really quickly. Like I said, up to that point, I was only getting partial, very short, brief windows, didn't have any windows in my first withdrawal. And then I had these weird sensations in my brain or in my head. I don't even know where it was coming from, but I felt this tingling, this patchy tingling in different areas of my head. And I've had brain tingling as a symptom throughout, especially since I took benzos and after my reinstatement and stuff. But this was a different sensation. This was like a pleasant tingling. I think there's different kinds of tingling. There's a sort of painful and, oh, this is uncomfortable sensation tingling. And then there's ooh, this is like something is turning on, almost like a warm, fuzzy tingling. I don't know. To me, they felt different. And I would feel it in different patches around my head at different times. And it was almost like my brain was turning on, even though I'm one of those people whose brain never shut off. I was constantly having intrusive thoughts, hallucinations, mental symptoms, just absolutely nonstop, relentlessly. And maybe my brain turning on is not the right way to say it, but it was like the good part of my brain was turning on, because I noticed after that started happening, I would get full windows where my head was clear. I wasn't experiencing any DPDR, any hallucinations, any mental akathisia, any intrusive thoughts, which I had so badly. And it happened so quickly. It was just like one day I started getting these sensations in my head. So I often think about, the people who are unable to continue on in their battle and who choose a different path. I often wonder, like, how close were those people to experiencing reprieve? Because I've seen it so many different times, and I myself experienced that, where it was just hell, 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 hell. Very tiny, brief, partial windows for an hour here or there, which barely makes a difference in your day-to-day torture. But then, it's like a light switch, something is flipped and things start improving rapidly. I've heard that with severe cases. I've heard that happening to several people. And I am one of those people as well, where it wasn't an instant healing, but it was where I was finally getting full windows where I could really get that sense of normality and remember what it was like to feel normal. Because like I said, I was 21 months off of my second withdrawal, but I was 4.5 years off my first SSRI that I'd taken for 7 years. And that was when I suddenly felt like things were shifting for me for the better. So no matter where you're at now, even if you're quite protracted, even if you're someone who has that pattern of healing where you're not getting windows and you just feel like you're just nonstop tortured, it can change really quickly. And I know people will say, well, I'm so sick of waiting around for healing. I'm so sick of, am I just supposed to sit here and twiddle my thumbs? Of course, there are things I believe you can do to help your body in general. But again, there's like no magic potion. There's no one thing that will turn your brain on or switch a certain symptom off. It just seems to be something that happens with time. And like I said, it can happen quickly, even if you're far out. So I just wanted to give you that to hopefully encourage you if, you're someone who maybe isn't getting any windows and you feel like you should be, or if you've just been suffering for so long and you're like, when is it my turn? It could be your turn very quickly. So just hold on to that and remember that, and play this video when you need to hear that again, because that is something that happened to me. And I was a person whose mental symptoms were so extreme that I was like, I just don't understand how this could ever go away. I was obsessed with that whole thing in neuroscience that says neurons that fire together wire together. And I was like, I've had these symptoms for so long. How is it ever going to switch off? They are obviously wired together, but it just happened where something just changed. And it was like I had this clarity in my head again. So, and I still, will get setbacks. I'm still sensitive to medications and stuff, but I live a full life now, a fully functioning life. I work, I take care of my daughter, raise her, run all my own errands, cook, do everything around the house, clean, what functioning, healthy people do. So anyway, I just wanted to say that and encourage you to keep going, and you never know when it's your turn to turn a corner. So have a great rest of the day, everybody, and I'll see you next time. Bye.